Princess Zarathiel stood in the great throne room of the Valkyrie Empire. Her 4 arms shook as she stared at the glowing treaty floating in the air before her father's massive throne. The blue light from the document made her crystalline skin look pale and sick. She could not believe what she was reading. The treaty was clear. To make peace between the dying Valkyrie Empire and the powerful Human Federation, she had to marry a human. Not just any human, but Admiral Marcus Cain. The humans called him the Reaper. Even thinking his name made her stomach feel cold and empty. Emperor Velthon, her father, looked down at her with tired eyes. His once bright purple skin had turned gray with worry. "My daughter," he said in their musical language, "you know we have no choice. Our empire is falling apart. Our worlds are starving. The humans offer us food, medicine, and protection. But they want this marriage as proof of our surrender." Zarathiel's skin changed from pale blue to deep purple with fear. She had heard the stories about humans. They were cold, heartless creatures who loved only war and death. They ate the flesh of their enemies. They showed no mercy to anyone who stood in their way. They were monsters wearing the faces of people. And Admiral Cain was the worst of them all. The stories about him were terrible. He had destroyed an entire rebel fleet in 6 minutes during something called the Siege of Proxima. 6 minutes. Thousands of ships turned into floating metal and fire in less time than it took to eat a meal. The rebels had begged for mercy. But Cain showed them none. He was a machine built for killing. "Father, please," Zarathiel whispered. "Surely there must be another way. Send my sister Kira El instead, or offer them gold or ships or anything else." The Emperor shook his great head. "The humans specifically asked for you. They know you are my heir. They want to break our royal line by making you a servant to their war machine." Lord Advisor Thekmar stepped forward. He was an old Valkyrie with scars from the last war. "Your Highness," he said to Zarathiel, "we have studied this Admiral Cain. He has never lost a battle. Never shown weakness. Never let an enemy live. If killing them served his purpose. The humans fear him almost as much as we do." Zarathiel's younger sister Kira El ran to her side. Kira El was only 16 and still had the bright golden skin of youth. "Sister, maybe the stories are wrong. Maybe humans are not as bad as we think." "Child," Thekmar said sadly, "our spies have watched them. Cain lives alone in cold metal rooms. He has no friends, no family, no love in his life. He knows only war and victory. Our princess will be like a pretty bird in a cage, made of steel and death." The throne room fell silent except for the soft humming of the floating treaty. Zarathiel closed all 4 of her eyes and tried to think. Her people were dying. Their food supplies were almost gone. 3 of their 5 worlds had already been lost to rebels and pirates. The Human Federation was the only power strong enough to help them. But the price was her freedom, her life. "How long do I have?" she asked quietly. "The ceremony must happen in 10 days, her father replied. "On the neutral station at Kepler's Gate. Admiral Cain is already traveling there. 10 days. Zarathiel opened her eyes and looked around the throne room. This might be the last time she ever saw her home. Soon she would be on a cold human ship, married to a monster, far from everything she loved. "I will do it," she said. Her voice sounded strange and empty, even to herself. "For our people, for our empire, I will marry the Reaper." Kira El started crying. The Emperor closed his eyes in pain. Even the guards looked sad. Thekmar bowed low. "You are brave, Princess. Your sacrifice will be remembered forever." But Zarathiel did not feel brave. She felt scared and small and alone. That night, She lay in her bed looking up at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, Admiral Cain was traveling toward their meeting. Was he thinking about her? Did he even care who she was? Or was she just another prize of war to him? She had seen pictures of humans before. They looked almost like Valkyrie, but with only 2 arms and strange, smooth skin. Their eyes were small and dark. Cain's military photo showed a man with short, dark hair and cold, empty eyes. He looked exactly like what she expected a killer to look like. The next morning, servants came to help her pack. She chose simple clothes and a few books. What was the point of bringing beautiful things to a life that would have no beauty? Her mother's jewelry stayed in its box. Her favorite paintings stayed on the walls. She was going to a new life where such things would not matter. As her ship prepared to leave, Zarathiel took one last look at her homeworld. The purple seas and silver cities looked so beautiful from space. Would she ever see them again? Would Admiral Cain even let her visit, or would she be his prisoner forever? The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying her toward her fate. In 10 days, she would meet the monster she had to marry. In 10 days, her real life would end, and her nightmare would begin. She just hoped it would be over quickly. The diplomatic ship was big and cold. Princess Zarathiel had a nice room with a soft bed and a window that showed the stars, but she could not enjoy any of it. Every day brought her closer to Admiral Cain and her terrible future. The human escort officers on the ship were polite but distant. They bowed when they saw her and called her, "Your Highness," but she could see the pity in their strange, small eyes. They knew what was waiting for her. They felt sorry for her, but they would not help her. On the 3rd day, Zarathiel heard 2 human officers talking in the hallway outside her room. She pressed her ear to the door to listen. "Poor alien princess," one of them said. "She has no idea what she's getting into." "The Admiral is not a cruel man," the other replied. "But he is not a gentle one either. He lives for war and duty. She will be very lonely. Remember what happened during the Outer Rim campaign? Cain turned 3 entire star systems into glass to stop the rebellion. Billions of people died, and he never even blinked. The rebels started it. They were killing civilians. I know. But still, the man has ice in his veins instead of blood. That poor alien girl is going to spend her life married to a machine. But Zarathiel stepped away from the door. Her hands were shaking. Billions of people dead? She had not heard about the Outer Rim campaign before. How many worlds had the Reaper destroyed? How many families had he torn apart? She asked Lord Thekmar, who had come with her, to find out more about Admiral Cain. The old advisor came back with files that made her feel even worse. Marcus Cain graduated first in his class from the Terra Military Academy. Thekmar read from a glowing datapad. He has fought in 17 major battles and won every single one. He has never taken vacation leave in 15 years of service. He lives alone and has no recorded friendships or romantic relationships. What about his family? Zarathiel asked. His parents died when he was young. No brothers or sisters. No wife or children. The man appears to have no personal connections at all. Zarathiel wrapped her arms around herself. A man with no family and no friends. A man who had never loved anyone. What kind of monster was she going to marry? Thekmar continued reading. He earned the nickname the Reaper during the Battle of Proxima Station. Enemy forces had taken civilian hostages. Cain surrounded their entire fleet and gave them one chance to surrender. When they refused, he destroyed every single enemy ship in 6 minutes. No survivors. What about the hostages? They died too. Zarathiel felt sick. Cain had killed innocent people to win a battle. He really was a monster with no heart. On the 5th day, she overheard more human crew members talking. This time they were discussing the wedding ceremony. The Admiral requested a simple ceremony, one said. No celebration. No party afterward. Just sign the papers and get it done. Typical Cain. He probably sees it as just another military operation. I heard he hasn't even bothered to learn anything about Valkyrie culture. He's treating her like cargo being delivered. Zarathiel's skin turned dark, purple, with anger and hurt. He had not even tried to learn about her people. He really did see her as just a thing, not a person. That night, she tried to write a letter to her sister Kira L. She wanted to tell her goodbye and make sure she knew how much she loved her. But every time she tried to write, the words would not come. How could she explain what was happening to her? How could she make her sister understand? Finally, she wrote, Dear Kira L. By the time you read this, I will be married to Admiral Cain. Do not try to rescue me. Take care of Father and help him rebuild our empire. Remember me as I was, not as I will become. Your loving sister, Zarathiel. On the 7th day, she could see Kepler's gate station through her window. It was a huge metal structure floating in space, with ships from many different worlds docked to it. Somewhere in there, Admiral Cain was waiting for her. She spent her last night of freedom staring out at the stars. Tomorrow, she would meet the man who would control the rest of her life. She tried to imagine what he would be like. Tall and cruel. Probably. Cold eyes that saw her as just another victory prize. Hands that had killed so many people they had lost count. Would he hurt her if she displeased him? Would he keep her locked up like a pet? Would he even bother to speak to her? Or would she just be a decoration in his cold, empty life? The human officers had stopped talking around her. They just looked at her with sad eyes and shook their heads when they thought she was not watching. Even they seemed to think her fate was hopeless. Zarathiel touched the small golden pendant her mother had given her before she died. It was the only truly precious thing she had brought with her. Tomorrow, she would probably have to give it up too. Admiral Cain would not want her to keep anything from her old life. As the ship docked with the station, she heard the sounds of metal connecting to metal. The journey was over. Her real life was about to end, and her nightmare was about to begin. She closed her eyes and tried to remember the feel of sunshine on her face back home. It might be the last warm memory she would ever have. Princess Zarathiel walked slowly down the cold metal hallway toward the meeting room. Lord Thekmar walked beside her, but neither of them spoke. Her 4 hands were clasped together to stop them from shaking. In a few moments, she would meet the monster she had to marry. The door to the conference room slid open with a soft hiss. Zarathiel stepped inside, expecting to see a tall, scary warrior covered in battle scars and weapons. Instead, she saw a man sitting quietly at a simple table. Admiral Marcus Cain looked up when she entered. He was not what she had expected at all. He was not very tall. His dark hair was neat but not fancy. He wore a clean blue uniform with medals on it. But no weapons. His face was not cruel or cold. Instead, he looked tired. Very tired. Like a man who had not slept well in a long time. Your Highness, Cain said, standing up and bowing respectfully. I know this situation is difficult for both of us. His voice was soft and gentle. Nothing like the harsh, commanding tone she had imagined. Zarathiel stood frozen by the door, unable to speak. This could not be the famous Reaper. This quiet, polite man could not be the monster from all the stories. Cain gestured to a chair across from him. Please, sit down. We have much to discuss. Zarathiel moved slowly to the chair but did not sit. She stared at Cain, trying to see the killer behind his calm face. Where were the cold, empty eyes? Where were the scars from battle? Where was the frightening presence that made entire fleets surrender in fear? You look confused, Cain said quietly. You are Admiral Cain? She asked. Her voice came out as a whisper. I am. And you are Princess Zarathiel of the Valkyrie Empire. I have studied your culture and your history. Your people have a long tradition of honor and wisdom. Zarathiel blinked all four of her eyes in surprise. You studied our culture? One? Cain nodded. For several months. I wanted to understand your people before we met. I know this marriage was not your choice. It was not mine either, in a way. But I believe we can make it work for both our peoples. I do not understand, Zarathiel said, finally sitting down. The stories say you are merciless. They say you enjoy killing and never show mercy to your enemies. Cain's tired eyes became even sadder. The stories are wrong about many things. May I tell you the truth about why I suggested this marriage? Zarathiel nodded, too confused to speak. My intelligence officers told me that your empire is collapsing, Cain said. Not just from outside attacks, but from inside problems. Food shortages, civil wars, disease. Your people are suffering. Without help, millions will die in the next few years. Yes, Zarathiel said quietly. This is true. The Federation wants to help. But our politicians are afraid of your people. They think all aliens are dangerous. A royal marriage would show them that Velkari can be trusted. It would give your people full Federation citizenship and protection. Zarathiel stared at him. You want to help my people? Yes. But I know this is a terrible thing to ask of you. You do not know me. You do not love me. You probably fear me because of the stories. Cain leaned back in his chair and rubbed his forehead like his head hurt. I want you to know that I will not force you to be a real wife if you do not want to. The treaty requires a marriage, but it does not say what kind of marriage. We could live as friends, or even as strangers who share a house. Whatever makes you comfortable. Quote, 1. Zarathiel felt like her world had turned upside down. This was not the conversation she had expected to have, but the stories about your battles, the siege of Proxima, the billions of people who died. Cain's face became very sad. Those stories are true, but they do not tell the whole story. At Proxima, the rebels had taken civilian hostages. They said they would kill all of them unless we let them escape. I could have tried to rescue the hostages, but that would have taken weeks. During those weeks, the rebels would have killed thousands of innocent people on the planets they controlled. So you killed the hostages to save others? I made a choice that haunts me every day. 600 hostages died, so that 30,000 civilians on 3 planets could live. It was the fastest way to end the war and stop the killing. Cain stood up and walked to the window. Outside, ships from many worlds were docked at the station. People call me Merciless because I can make hard choices quickly. But every death weighs on me. Every battle I win means families destroyed, children without parents, worlds left broken. I do not enjoy war, Princess. I fight to end wars as quickly as possible. Zarathiel looked at this man who was supposed to be a monster. He seemed more like a person carrying a heavy burden. Why did you become a soldier if you hate war? Cain turned back to her. Because someone has to make the hard choices. Someone has to carry the weight of those decisions. I would rather that person be me than someone who might enjoy it. For the first time since arriving at the station, Zarathiel felt something other than fear. She felt curious. What do you do when you are not fighting? A small smile appeared on Cain's face. I grow flowers. Earth flowers. Mostly. But I have been trying to learn about Velkari plants too. I read poetry. I study history. I work on plans for rebuilding worlds after war's end. You grow flowers? Yes. There is something peaceful about watching things grow instead of watching them die. Zarathiel sat quietly for a long time, thinking. Everything she had believed about humans, about Admiral Cain, about her future, was wrong. The man sitting across from her was not a monster. He was just a person trying to do his best in a difficult world. Admiral Cain, she said finally. Please call me Marcus. Marcus, if we marry, what would our life be like? Marcus sat back down. I live on a space station near Earth. It is quiet and safe. You would have your own rooms, your own garden if you want one. You could study, read, meet with other Federation citizens from your empire. You would be free to do whatever makes you happy. And you would not hurt me? Or force me to do things I do not want to do? Never. I give you my word as an officer and as a man. Zarathiel looked into his tired, honest eyes. For the first time in days, she did not feel afraid. She felt something she had not expected to feel. She felt hope. Over the next 3 days, Princess Zarathiel spent hours talking with Marcus Cain. Each conversation showed her more about the real man behind the scary stories. He was nothing like what she had expected. Marcus showed her his personal files from all his battles. She read his private reports that nobody else had ever seen. In every single battle, he had tried to find ways to end the fighting quickly with as few deaths as possible. Look at this one, Marcus said, pointing to a report on his datapad. The Battle of New Geneva. Everyone thinks I destroyed the enemy fleet without mercy. But look at what really happened. Zarathiel read the report carefully. The enemy had been planning to attack a hospital ship full of wounded soldiers and civilians. Marcus had sent them warning messages for 3 days, asking them to surrender. When they refused and moved toward the hospital ship, he had attacked. I gave them every chance to stop, Marcus said quietly. But they would not listen. Sometimes you have to choose between bad and worse. Why do you not tell people the real story? Zarathiel asked. Marcus looked out the window at the stars. Because fear of the Reaper stops wars before they start. If enemy leaders think I am a merciless monster, they surrender faster. Fewer people die when wars end quickly. Zarathiel began to understand. Marcus had let people think he was a monster because it actually saved lives. He carried the weight of being hated and feared so that others would not have to die. On the second day, Marcus took her to see his quarters on the station. Zarathiel expected cold, empty rooms, full of weapons and military equipment. Instead, she found something amazing. His main room had a big window with a beautiful garden growing in front of it. Flowers from Earth grew next to plants from a dozen other worlds. The air smelled sweet and fresh. Soft music played from hidden speakers. This is beautiful, Zarathiel said, touching a blue flower that reminded her of ones from home. I started growing them after my first battle, Marcus said. I needed something to remind me what I was fighting to protect. His bedroom was simple but comfortable. Books covered one wall. Zarathiel looked at the titles and was surprised again. Poetry from many worlds. History books about peace treaties and rebuilding after wars. Art books full of beautiful pictures. You read Velkari poetry? She asked, seeing several books in her language. Marcus looked embarrassed. I wanted to understand your culture better. I am not very good at reading it yet, but I am trying to learn. On his desk, Zarathiel saw something that made her heart stop. It was a file marked Velkari Resettlement Project. She opened it and found detailed plans for helping her people build new homes in Federation space. Schools for children, hospitals, farms, everything her people would need. You made these plans? She asked. I have been working on them for 6 months, Marcus said. If our marriage helps your people join the Federation, they will need places to live and work. I want to make sure they are welcome and safe. Zarathiel felt tears in her eyes. Nobody had told her about this. Marcus had been planning to help her people even before he met her. The marriage was not just about politics. It was about saving millions of lives. On the 3rd day, Marcus showed her something that changed everything she thought about him. It was a private video message he had recorded after the Battle of Proxima. In the video, Marcus sat alone in a dark room. His face was wet with tears. Today, I killed 600 innocent people, he said to the camera. I keep telling myself it was the only way to save 30,000 others. But those 600 people had names. They had families. They had dreams. And I took all of that away. The video continued, with Marcus talking about each person he remembered from the battle, enemy soldiers and civilians alike. He knew their faces. He carried their deaths with him every day. "This is what you do after every battle?" Zarathiel asked. Marcus nodded. "I make myself remember. The people who call me Merciless think I do not care about the people who die, but I remember every single one. I have to. If I forget them, I become the monster everyone thinks I am." Zarathiel realized something wonderful and terrible at the same time. Marcus Cain was not heartless. He felt everything more deeply than most people. He had to pretend to be cold and merciless to do his job, but inside he was breaking apart from the weight of all the lives he had taken. "Why do you keep fighting?" she asked. "If it hurts you so much, why not stop?" "Because if I stop, someone else will have to make these choices. Someone who might not care as much about the people who die. Someone who might choose the easy way instead of the right way." That evening, they sat together in Marcus's garden. The artificial stars on the ceiling looked almost real. Zarathiel watched Marcus water his flowers with gentle, careful hands. These were the same hands that had destroyed fleets. But now, they were nurturing life. "Marcus," she said quietly, "I want you to know something. I am not afraid of you anymore." He looked up from his flowers. "I am glad. I never wanted you to be afraid. I understand now why people think you are merciless. You have to be strong enough to make impossible choices. But I see the real you, the man who grows flowers and reads poetry, and cries for the people he could not save." Marcus set down his watering can and sat beside her. "What does this mean for us? For the marriage?" Zarathiel thought for a moment. "I think it means we have a chance to build something good together. Not just a political marriage, but a real partnership. You care about my people. I care about yours. Maybe together we can find better ways to solve problems than war. You would really want to stay married to me? Even knowing what I have done? Especially knowing what you have done. You carry a terrible burden, Marcus. You should not have to carry it alone." For the first time since she had met him, Marcus smiled a real smile. Not a polite, diplomatic smile, but a smile of genuine happiness and relief. "Thank you, Zarathiel," he said. "I think we are going to surprise a lot of people." She smiled back. "I think you are right." The wedding ceremony was simple and beautiful. Princess Zarathiel wore a traditional Velkari robe of silver and blue. Marcus wore his dress uniform, but he had added a small Velkari flower to his jacket. Representatives from both governments watched as they signed the treaty papers. But something had changed from what everyone expected. Instead of a sad alien princess being forced to marry a cold human monster, people saw two friends choosing to build something together. Zarathiel smiled during the ceremony. Marcus spoke some words in her language, even though his accent was terrible. They looked at each other with respect and warmth. Lord Thekmar whispered to another Velkari diplomat. "Something is different. The princess does not look afraid." The Human Federation observers were confused, too. Admiral Cain seemed relaxed and happy. They had never seen him smile so much. What had happened during the 3 days of meetings? After the ceremony, Zarathiel and Marcus began their new life together. They lived on Space Station Aurora, which orbited Earth. Zarathiel had her own rooms and a beautiful garden where she grew flowers from her homeworld. Marcus continued his military duties, but now he had help. Zarathiel was smart about politics and people in ways that Marcus was not. When he planned military operations, she helped him think about how different alien cultures would react. When he wrote reports, she helped him explain things in ways that would not scare people. Instead of saying you destroyed the enemy fleet, say you ended the conflict, she suggested one day, as they worked together in his office. But I did destroy them, Marcus said. Yes, but the way you say it matters. People need to see that you fight for peace, not for destruction. Slowly, Marcus began to change how he talked about his work. Instead of focusing on victories and defeats, he talked about protecting civilians and building better worlds. People started to see him differently. The real test came 6 months after their wedding. A group of pirates was attacking both human and Velkari colonies. They were led by a crazy human named Captain Rex Morrison, who hated all aliens and wanted to start a war between humans and everyone else. Morrison attacked a Velkari refugee colony, killing hundreds of families. Then he attacked a human trading post and made it look like aliens had done it. He wanted both sides to blame each other and start fighting. The Federation leaders called for Admiral Cain to hunt down Morrison and his pirates. But this time, Cain did something different. He asked Princess Zarathiel to help him. I could track down Morrison and destroy his fleet in a few days, Marcus said as they studied star maps in their quarters. But that would not solve the real problem. Morrison has supporters on both sides. People who believe his lies about aliens being dangerous. What do you suggest? Zarathiel asked. I think we should work together. Use both human military tactics and Velkari diplomacy. Show people that humans and aliens can be partners, not enemies. They created a plan that surprised everyone. Instead of just sending human warships after Morrison, they put together mixed crews of humans and Velkari. Instead of attacking Morrison's bases, they went to his supporters and showed them evidence that he was lying about alien attacks. Zarathiel used her political skills to convince Velkari leaders to trust human forces. Marcus used his military knowledge to track Morrison without starting big battles that would hurt innocent people. When they finally found Morrison, he was planning to attack a space station full of human and alien families. Morrison expected Admiral Cain to attack his ships directly, which would have put the families in danger. Instead, Marcus and Zarathiel surprised him. While Marcus's ships distracted Morrison's fleet, Zarathiel led a team of diplomats to evacuate the families. Then Marcus used a clever trick to disable Morrison's ships without destroying them. Morrison was captured alive. His crew surrendered when they realized their leader had been lying to them about alien attacks. The families were saved. Most importantly, humans and aliens had worked together to solve the problem. News of their success spread across the galaxy. People saw that Admiral Cain was not the merciless monster from the stories. They saw that Velkari were not weak or dangerous. They saw that different species could work together and make each other stronger. A year after the Morrison incident, Zarathiel and Marcus stood together on the observation deck of Space Station Aurora. Below them, they could see a new colony world, where humans and Velkari lived side by side. Children from both species played together in the parks. Adults worked together on farms and in factories. Do you ever regret it? Marcus asked. Leaving your old life to marry a stranger? Zarathiel took his hand with one of her 4 hands. I regret nothing. I was wrong about you. Wrong about humans. I thought I was being sacrificed to a monster. Instead, I found a partner. Your people are safe now. They have citizenship and protection. Your sister Kira L. is studying at the Federation Academy. Your father's empire is rebuilding. And your people are learning that aliens can be friends, not just enemies. You are not the Reaper anymore, Marcus. You are the Peacemaker. Marcus smiled. I like that better. They watched the sunset over the new colony world. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear music. Human songs mixed with Velkari melodies, creating something beautiful and new. What do you think comes next? Zarathiel asked. I think we keep building bridges between worlds. I think we show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest. Together, always together. As the stars came out over the peaceful world below, Princess Zarathiel and Admiral Marcus Cain stood hand in hand, watching their two peoples build a future neither of them could have imagined alone. The marriage that had started as a symbol of surrender had become a symbol of hope. And across the galaxy, other species watched and wondered if they too could find friendship with the humans and their alien partners. The age of endless war was ending. The age of cooperation was just beginning. The princess who had dreaded marrying a monster had instead helped create a hero. And the admiral who had thought he was doomed to be feared and hated had found love and redemption in the most unexpected place. Their story became legend, but it was a new kind of legend. Not a story of conquest and destruction, but a story of understanding and peace. It was exactly the kind of story the galaxy needed.